what do you think this story of the first week of the NCAA tournament was? What do you take out of it?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's a total reflection as to what's happened over the last 3, 4, 5 years. Everyone's making a big deal about the transfer portal this year because guys are immediately eligible. But we've been averaging 800 transfers a year for 5 straight years. So it's the balance, the difference between a 13 seed and a 4 seed or whatever it may be, a 2 and a 15. Those days are over. It's the 13 and the 4, and 5 and the 12 and so forth. They're a lot closer than they used to be when you combine transfers and the one and done. There's certain schools that recruit one and dones, and those kids keep coming and leaving, so they stay young. And then a lot of kids that are backups at the 2 seed don't want to be backups, and they transfer to the 13 seed, and makes the 13 seed a lot better. So I think it's a direct correlation between what we've had over the last 5, 6 years and the present moment, which I think is awesome. It makes that tournament even that much more fun to watch.
No question. But then when we get down to the Sweet 16, I mean, how much of a run do you think somebody like St. Peter's can truly have when you see what the Blue Bloods are putting out there, having made it this far? What do you think of that, Frank?
Yeah, Rich. You don't get to the round of you don't become a Sweet 16 team as a fluke. It's really hard to get into that tournament, and it's really hard to win in that tournament. Once you get to the Sweet 16, you got a real team. You got real guys. You might not have the popular guys, but you got real guys. And when you got real guys, you got a chance to beat whoever's in front of you, and you're a real team. You're not a dysfunctional team and make it to the Sweet 16. That just doesn't happen. So everyone that's in the Sweet 16 has a real team. I mean, they're a united team, and they're a battle-tested team. And everyone that's in the Sweet 16 has really good players. Now, like I always say, everything's matchups. Everything I was on TV last week. I used the analogy between Foreman, Ali, and Ken Norton. Ali toyed with Foreman. Ali struggled with Norton. Foreman put Norton to sleep. The styles were just opposites, and they just created problems for each other. And it's the same way in the tournament. I think the matchups is a lot more important than the name on the jerseys right now.
Does that make St. Peter's Buster Douglas, Frank? What does that make St. Peter's in your analogy?
No, because they were never fat. They didn't have to get in shape. Those guys were young and hungry from the word go.
So what do you think Matt Painter of Purdue's thinking right now with Shaheen Holloway talking about how he's got kids from New York and New Jersey, and they don't, I'm sure you might have heard that soundbite where he's like, they're not afraid of anybody. He goes, they're not pushed around. We do that, is what he said.
Yeah, well, that's who Shaheen was as a player. Anyone that knows Shaheen and remembers him, I've known Shaheen since he was a young kid. I mean, he played for Kevin Boyle at St. Patrick's in New Jersey in high school, and I've known Shaheen forever. Shaheen is fearless, and when you see his team play, they've taken on his personality. They're fearless, and he means what he says. I think Matt Painter's not going to lose sleep because Shaheen Holloway's talking about he's got tough kids. Matt Painter has tough kids. The whole thing is matchups, and Matt Painter has 2 big old bodies inside that I don't think St. Peter's has. So that's a major problem for St. Peter's, is how are they going to identify and deal with Travion Williams and the big kid, Edney or so. I can't pronounce his name. I apologize. Right. But then again, Matt Painter's team, Purdue, based on last week when I studied their numbers a little bit, defensively they have not been a highly efficient team. They've been okay, but not great. And keeping those St. Peter's guards out of the lane is going to be a big challenge for Purdue. So it's all matchups, but that. Matt, I can tell you this, Rich. Matt's not rolling in bed right now worried about Shaheen having tough kids. And And Shaheen, that's who he is, and I'm really proud for who he has continued to grow to become, and how good a coach he is right now.
Frank Martin, after a stellar week on TV, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show, talking NCAA Tournament. So you've been talking about matchups, and that's what it's all about, certainly now that we were in the Sweet 16. Which kid in the tournament is the biggest matchup problem? Which team has the biggest matchup problem for anybody, do you think?
I think it's not even close. I think it's the young man Matherin from Arizona. I think I think he presents a major problem for everybody because of his rebounding ability, his playmaking ability, his size, his shooting, his athleticism. I think he's the biggest hurdle for anyone to deal with right now. It's interchangeable players are in my belief, and multi-skilled players. I don't care how high you can jump. You got no skills, it's easier to match up with you. But when you're a multi-talented player with size and athleticism, and that's what that young man presents, I think he's the hardest matchup for everybody.
What do you think of Timmy? What do you think of Gonzaga's ability to maybe have somebody like him with the other complementary parts and dynamic kids around him? What do you think of Gonzaga's chances as a 1 seed right now?
Yeah, I think I think Timmy's a big-time player. By the way, I love him because, I'm battling alopecia, so he's got the best mustache, so I'm really, really jealous. I wish I could grow one right now. I love him. He's an old-school, blue-collar, no-nonsense winner. He doesn't wow you with dunking. He doesn't wow you with, all these incredible fadeaways in between the legs. When the game ends, he's as efficient as anybody on the court, and 95% of the time his team wins, and he's got a lot to do with it. I think he's everything I root for in college basketball.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.